The elevator hummed softly, its cables groaning as it moved through the dimly lit shaft. For the occupants, it was just a box, a means of moving between floors. For him, it was home. The elevator man stood in the corner, motionless, his pale face impassive as he watched the polished doors slide shut. He had always been there, or at least it felt that way. Time had long since lost its meaning. The passengers rarely saw him. Most were too absorbed in their phones, their thoughts, or the monotony of their routines. That was how he preferred it. Being unseen allowed him to do his work undisturbed. When they did see him, things changed. He didn't like to act, but when they noticed him, when their eyes locked onto his, he had no choice. He existed between moments, in the gaps of memory and time. He could not remember his origins, and maybe that was for the best. The memories of those who saw him were enough, too much, even. Their fragments filled him like shards of broken glass, sharp and endless. The latest passenger entered the elevator on a rainy morning. Mara stepped inside with hurried steps, shaking droplets of water from her coat. She didn't notice him at first, her attention consumed by the glow of her phone screen. Her thumbs danced over the glass as she scrolled through her inbox, the noise of the storm outside a faint memory. The elevator doors slid shut with a soft click, and the car began its ascent. Mara sighed, leaning against the wall as she skimmed a particularly tedious email. The hum of the elevator was soothing, almost hypnotic. Her heartbeat slowed as she sank into the rhythm of the moment, her mind drifting away from the chaos of her morning. And then she felt it, a presence. It was subtle at first, a tingling at the base of her neck, like the sensation of being watched. She glanced at her reflection in the mirrored panel across from her and froze. A figure stood in the corner of the elevator, unmoving, his dark eyes fixed on her. Mara's breath hitched as she spun around to face him directly. He was tall and pale, dressed in an antiquated uniform that looked eerily pristine. For a moment, her mind scrambled to place him. Had he been there when she entered? She couldn't remember. "Do I know you?" she asked, her voice trembling despite her attempt to sound firm. The elevator man tilted his head slightly, the faintest ghost of a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "No," he said, his voice low and steady, "but I know you." The words sent a shiver down Mara's spine. Her grip tightened on her phone as a strange sensation began to spread through her body. It was as if his words had unlocked something within her, something she had fought to keep buried. Images began to flood her mind. She saw herself as a child, hiding under her bed as her parents' angry voices echoed through the house. She saw the sting of rejection in high school, the nights spent crying into her pillow, the quiet moments of despair that had followed her into adulthood. Each memory was vivid and sharp, the emotions as raw as the day they were born. "What are you doing to me?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. "I'm not doing anything," the elevator man replied, his tone calm and detached. "Your memories are simply rising to the surface." Mara's knees buckled, and she pressed her back against the wall for support. The flood of memories was overwhelming, suffocating, as if she were drowning in her own mind. Tears streamed down her face, unbidden and unstoppable. "Please," she gasped, "make it stop." The elevator man stepped closer, his movements slow and deliberate. He raised a hand, his fingers hovering inches from her temple. The air around him seemed to grow colder, and Mara felt a strange, soothing sensation spread through her body. "Let me take it away," he said softly. Before she could respond, the memories began to fade, One by one, they dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind a hollow emptiness. The pain that had gripped her chest was gone, replaced by a numbness she couldn't fully comprehend. When the elevator doors opened, Mara stumbled out onto her floor. She blinked, disoriented, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. She glanced back at the elevator, but the man was gone. The doors slid shut with a soft ding, and she stood there in the hallway, clutching her phone with trembling hands. Inside the elevator, the man returned to his corner. The faint remnants of Mara's memories lingered in his mind, adding to the collection he carried. He didn't know what to do with them, only that they were his to bear. As the elevator began its descent, he closed his eyes, bracing himself for the next passenger. There was always someone else,